Good evening. Greetings to the family. Blessings and blessings. Yeah, what's up? Hotep, Islam, Shalom. Peace to everybody. Can y'all hear me? Peace, peace. Is my volume good? Okay. Awesome. First and foremost, I want to say that moon outside, Lunar, is magnificent. It's a Sagittarius full moon, and last night was a lunar eclipse. How many people were able to take advantage of these windows that are open up? Yeah, it was there's whatever energy came on this planet. Yeah, it's an intense energy. This lunar eclipse, okay, the strawberry moon, according to the farmer's almanac, is called the hot moon, right? And what that means is it's going to be hot from right now leading up to June 21st, which is a solar eclipse. Oh, they covered it with the fake clouds? Yeah, they do that a lot. The solar eclipse is going to be an event. It's the beginning of June right now, so you have time to plan a vacation. You have time to plan a retreat. You have time to do something because you want to be doing something on June 21st. You want to be somewhere. I'm not letting the cat out the bag, but we are planning on doing something in Atlantis, June 21st. I just got booked to speak at, is it called the Black House with Jay Morrison, the building that he erected. Queen of Four is having a sacred men's rally, and I've been booked for that. So we're gonna be in a black Mecca for the summer solstice, hopefully, God willingly. Atlanta right now, I've been many places, and there's no energy or there's no magnetism that can match the magnetism of Atlanta. The way that grid is powered up. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but there's nowhere in America that I went that is as electric and as blacktastic as the A. Am I Nation of Islam? No, I'm not. The nation, Atlanta, that red clay with it's a melting pot. Everybody is there, so it's not an Atlanta thing. Tell T.I. that I saw Bobby Hemmett in Atlanta in 2012. I saw him in 2011, right? And then I didn't see him anymore. Bobby Hemmett, that is. I last saw him in a check cashing place. Okay? Send a request, Shaka, and I'm going to bring you in. Send a request. Oh, okay. You can't request. Woo. No problem, King. So, yeah, I did see Bobby Hemmett. I was chilling with Bobby, but this was years ago. I believe Bobby is in the Carolinas with his family now. Bobby Hemmett is still with us. Yeah. We're waiting for Chaka. Chaka's coming through. We're going to have a powerful conversation with the God body. You dig? Let me find out that they've been trying to hate on the brother from going live. Yo, Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm gonna say that Mark Zuckerberg is he's a piece of work, bro. He been blocking and hating and doing all kind of weirdo stuff. But when it comes to Donald Trump, he's all Trump. He's team Trump. But when it comes to, I mean, black people expressing pain, black people emoting, they're blocking that. You know, they're blocking. You dig? Shout out to the God, man. Peace to the God. Peace to Chakabars. Salute, King.
Brother, Wagwan.
Oh, well, where are you right now? You on the island of Jamaica, or you still over there in Thailand?
Nah, I'm still in Thailand because the world is still crazy. So why would I come back to it?
I ain't mad at you, brother. Tell us a bit about, give us just a brief about Thailand, because there's some people on my live who they wouldn't even fathom why a black person would be in Thailand. They don't understand, they don't know. So just give them that insight.
Well, what I can understand is this. With Thailand, uh, a while back, I decided that I was going to make a difference in Africa, right? And when I did that, every time I go to Africa, every time I go to the Caribbean, I'm always working like I have an obligation to my people there. I don't have an obligation to Thai people. So when I come to forward here, I can really just be
Or
on my own, not do anything, focus on myself. And the island that I'm on, there's no black people. There's predominantly Europeans. And like Europeans and we don't really fuck with each other like that. So because of that, I can just be on my own. And the other thing about social influence is like, as I'm sure you know, it's weird all the time. People coming up to you asking you for pictures, trying to like they know you but you don't know them, and so it's just like that whole phenomenon. I never wanted to be famous or a celebrity. I
Mhm.
always wanted to just make a difference. Like Malcolm X says, if you want something changed, then you better make some noise about it. So I made some noise about it, but then it started shining the light on me, and I always tried to shine the light on the projects. And because of that, I was like, well, if I want to be able to have time on my own, I need to go to somewhere where nobody knows me. So I come here where nobody knows me so that I can, get away from the mental illness that is the subjective fame and or infamy and social influence, because I'm not interested in being influential so that people can know me, because that's narcissism. Like I don't care about people knowing me.
I was gonna say, can we share with the family some of the trappings of fame? Because people might not know that, and we know that one of the strongest influencing or one of the strongest drives in people who may be quote unquote they might not realize what they're driving to. So one of the strong
Mm,
and people who have fame warn against it, and they say that fame is a drug and I'd rather be rich than famous. So can you just give them an insight as to how are you adapting to what people may perceive as fame?
um, I'm moving. I've been moving the fuck away from it. I tried to stay. Yeah, you know me. I try and stay in the ghetto in Congo, in the
Right.
ghetto in the hood in Jamaica, in the ghetto in um, Ghana, or in the countryside.
You in the trenches. That's what I respect the most. That although I know you could go to the 4-star, 5-star, you right in the trenches. You know what I'm talking about? Because I tell
Yeah.
people show pictures where they used to be in the military, and I be
Mm,
lie. You know what I mean? You had greens
mm.
geeked out. You was out there killing and whatnot for whatever government, uh, you know. But then when I see them advocating, they're not in the trenches, and that's what I thought. All of that boot camp prepared you to be in it. Because if you in the army and they send you in the trenches, you can't say no to your drill instructor. So
Right.
they did. The brothers who got turned on to consciousness that were in the military or law enforcement, these brothers would be some of the most active ones because they have gotten over the fear of their people, or they've gotten over the fear of the unknown by being in the military. But that's not what we see.
Mm.
So when I see you, you took, you took the green, you took the fatigues off, you did that, and now you took what you know and you're giving it back. So it's honest for that, bro.
Well, I mean, it was always my mother's idea for my purpose, and that's the thing. When you have children, you need to have real intention for why you're having them and have real naming ceremonies. My name is an African name. So
Fact.
when people hear Shaka, they think of Shaka Zulu. They can't think of anything else apart from that. And he was a military leader. So I remember when I went to the army, my mom, she started crying. She was like, I knew you were going to be a warrior, but I never thought that you would go to fight in a white man army. And
Mm.
I remember the day that she dropped me off at the train station. I was going to Iraq, and I was posted in Germany, so I was going to Germany and then going to Iraq from there. And I just remember like her like trying not to cry, but she was crying, and because she thought that could be the last time that she saw me. And
Fact.
then I left the military, and I started to realize some of my brothers who were in the military with me, that they were willing to lay down their lives and die for white people, but they ain't willing to lay down their lives and die for their own people. So I was just like, well, what is the psychology behind that? Like, you was literally willing to die for some white man that hated you. Literally, in the military, they're more racist than out in the public, right?
Of
But you're
course.
not willing to go back to the hood and
Hmm.
die for your people. Clearly, you don't see value in your people, and you see more value in the system of white inferiority complexes, military industrial complexes, etc., etc. So I thought, well, if I'm willing to go and do that there for like $2,000 a month, then I'm definitely willing to do it for free in the hood for my people. It doesn't even make sense to surround yourself, and this whole thing about consciousness will set us free. It will, but if you watch like the spook that sat beside the door, if you start to read the Black Panthers 10-point program, if you start to read the teachings of His Honorable Dr. Marcus Garvey, if you start to look at the Move 9 organization, then
Hmm.
you realize that most people are not on consciousness. They are on church, or they are on the masjid. They're on systems of religion, they're on systems of schooling. And the only thing that I think personally that will be able to set the people free from where they are right now, because you have everybody out marching and protesting, and they like, for me, it's like, well, why are we taking all of the black energy of the world and putting it into trying to get four slave catchers prosecuted by the government and the injustice system that was set up for them anyway? I was just like, well, actually, we need black nationalism. Because if these people ain't going to be on consciousness, then they need to be on some get down or lay down shit, because that's what their God teaches them. Their God teaches them they will go to hell if they are against their God.
Vale. I just want
Yeah.
that you were bringing up the fact you brought up the Garveys and everything, and I want to say that these individuals, they subscribe to what is known as schools of thought,
Mm,
where we find ourselves as a people right now. We have to find out from our brothers and sisters who are considering themselves to be marchers and protesters, what is your school of thought? Like, what school of thought?
mm,
And that's not to judge anybody or to take away from anyone, because we may be in a crowd with 60,000 people in Texas. We may be in Paris with 100,000 people. We may be in Central Park with 20,000, 30,000. There's allies. There's people of all kind of walks of life. There's intersectionality taking place. But they all collectively came to mourn over what? The corpse
mm-hmm.
of a black man.
Not the life.
Nothing else. Whilst
Mm,
of brothers and sisters. Because when it came out for Brianna, we were giving honors to the quote unquote recently deceased, right? But
Mm-hmm.
in African tradition, we have to give honors to the ones who can still do something, who are alive. So
Mm-hmm.
when we do a rally for a brother like Big Floyd, the God, we 100,000 people were to come out, and he has a daughter named Gianni. She's his living quote unquote memory. She's his progeny. If they look at him and say that they love him, well, he recreated a son, he recreated children. When they rally and it's 60,000 of them, why not raise money for the children that are alive? Not GoFundMe. That right there, that's not love. Love is when I could see the people putting their quote unquote, because you vote with your dollar.
Mm-hmm.
They could, if white people say that Black Lives Matter, and I'm not getting at Europeans per se because it's not a
Mm-hmm.
European, but I'm bringing that up because I see them as the majority in these modern protests. Because keep in mind, this is the biggest protest ever,
Yeah.
and it came out of. Some people would think that it came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. It actually came out of a whole bunch of situations that have been occurring. Like, remember Ahmaud Arbery, right? We did not necessarily riot when Ahmed got killed, right? Because he was fighting to the death, right? I'm going to bring you back in. He was fighting to the death. So he went out on feet. And when real men, when warriors, Alpha saw he had he fought his way before he went. And that's what they say to us, that a coward dies 1,000 deaths. As long as
Mm-hmm.
your feet fighting, you are going to be honored amongst your people and your ancestors, and you went out as a warrior. So even the unconscious mind, when we saw that, we were like, damn, brother, get it. You know what I mean? That's how you do it. You rush the gun.
Mm-hmm.
If you got it, if you're gonna go down, then you're gonna go. You don't run away and let them hit you up in the back. You run down on.
Mm-hmm.
Then the story came to us about our sister who was with child, who was pregnant, and got, whoever ever got startled out of their sleep, with some ruckus or with some kind of, that is a very uncomfortable feeling. The spirit has to come back into the body. You are a little
Mm-hmm.
out of whack for a minute, and they
Mm-hmm.
killed that. Her name is Breonna Taylor. So I feel the third thing was just, it just set us off. Death comes in threes. And
Mm-hmm.
the majority of the people who were putting on look like liberal Democrats. I don't see too many MAGA hats. I don't see the because I know how to differentiate, the Europeans based on their thinking, because thinking, right? It creates a
Mm-hmm.
phenotype. The way that you think affects the way that you look. It affects your health and everything. So a lot of Europeans who have a inbred hatred for people, namely melanated people, and if they live around them,
Mm-hmm.
have to be around them and work around them, they begin to get this real pasty type of demonic aura to them. When you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to, you see it in the videos with the barbecue Becky's and all of these Karens and whatnot. You see how they kind of like show their fangs. So I'm looking in the crowd. I'm seeing a lot of liberals, and I'm asking
Mm-hmm.
my brothers, do you know who's amongst you? You have doctors and lawyers. These are people who benefited off of the civil rights movement, who've been they were the quote unquote, they were the children with long hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the what's that generation that my
The
father
hippies,
is,
the flower power.
right? So the hippies
Mm-hmm.
cut their beards, and they corporate America in the 70s and 80s. So these are the same people revisiting, right, counterculture because of the cycles that we're in. It all comes back. The 60s and things that are like that nature are back. So I'm asking my brothers, why not get these people to crowdfund while they're around you? Why not rate whatever happened? Why are we scared to speak about a black budget?
Mm-hmm.
There's always these things about budgets, and we have to vote for somebody who our people taught us are politicians, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look back in time. What politician has helped your parents, your grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
or you, your neighborhood, your generation, all of the, none of them really. So we
Mm-hmm.
wait every 4 or 2 years for budgets to open up. And I'm saying because we live in the quickening and because we are geniuses and because we are tech savvy, we do not have to wait that long, and we don't have to put it on the shoulders of a politician, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because keep in mind, family, you buy your politics. People with money use politicians to be their mouthpieces. That's the only thing that a politician is. When a politician is reading a bill, he's reading out somebody else's thoughts. And they may have,
Mm.
they're
He's
not
he's 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 reading out somebody else's contract.
he's reading out someone's contract, and they paid him to, he is their spokesman. He is a paid mouth. That is the, let's be clear about politicians or politicians. That is the only
Mm-hmm.
that they are. And we
Mm-hmm.
do not know the power of the politician because we're not utilizing them to be our mouthpieces because we don't own them. We have to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
And we can buy them, right? They're for sale. They let you
And
know.
we should.
They be like, yo, what's your name? Did you cut a check? Hold on. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'll get back at you later. They're obligated. They have an obligation to whoever buys them, the highest bidder.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we don't gotta wait. Our budgets should not be tied in to politics. Our budgets should be tied in to what it is that we need. We need
Right.
we need land. We need the things that are going to. We need what our ancestors had in Black Wall Street.
Mm.
Let's
Mm.
far back. We need what they had at Rosewood. We need what the Maroons have in Jamaica, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was just telling my wife this earlier. I was in the house, we were in the house barefoot, walking around, and I was like, as I was telling her, the more we were together, the more I began to shed a lot of things and simplify things.
Mm.
Explained to her, I said the reason why I'm letting go of so many things is because I'm preparing myself to live off grid. I'm preparing myself to live like the Maroons. I'm preparing for us to walk around barefoot for real and not
Mm-hmm.
clothes. I said as long as I have some books, as long as I have some sea moss, as long as I got herbs, as long as I could basically, I need some Wi-Fi, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm beginning to train myself to let go of the things that have held me down. Similar to
Mm-hmm.
when the COVID crisis came, I was already in solitude because I've been training myself throughout the years to be alone, to be in
Mm-hmm.
complete solitude. When I was in my 30s, that was a fear of mine to be alone with myself
Mm.
and not be on somebody's couch, not be in someone's club, not be in someone's daughter's face, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't doing that and I had to sit at home and think about me, that was an American horror story. I couldn't do it. I could So throughout the years, I prepared myself, and that's what consciousness is. That's what awareness is. That's what pre caution is. It's to prepare yourself so when things come about, you're not caught off guard. You're not shocked.
Mm.
Preparation prevents piss poor performance, right?
Right. And all that look is preparation meeting opportunity. And
And that's the time that we're living in right now. They call it the Kairos moment, Kairos, and it's also called the Chronos moment. It's an opportunity. It's a window in time that doesn't stay open for long, right?
And Gates was trying to make it the Thanos moment.
Want to make it his Kairos moment, right? And for women who for the mothers out there, when you do the research to understand what the Kairos moment is, there's a Kairos moment in childbirth. And for the
Mm.
father, children delivered, you understand what I'm speaking of. There's a moment in time where time doesn't exist. There's a window where something magical happens and then it closes and you can't get that moment back. That's the Kairos moment. And that's the
That's
moment. I feel like that is the moment that we are finding ourselves in right now.
that's the
It's,
um
yeah.
that's the same. That's the same with the the portal to the spiritual gateway. The conception is that's when you're supposed to give the name of the baby. That's when you're
Mm,
supposed, because the baby is born like when your baby comes out, it's 9 months old, but yet we're acting like the baby's brand new. And the baby came from the spirit realm in its Kronos moment at the orgasm when you are supposed to be in complete and utter symbiosis on the same vibrational level, oneness, togetherness, right? That you create together, you create one, you create a new life. Then the baby comes out, and then you start going, I wonder what name we should call it. And it's like, the baby's like, motherfucker, I've been here for 9 months. I've seen you and smell you. I know what's going on. I know you bad habits. What do you think you should name me? You should have known me by now because I was kicking your uterus every time you was doing some fuck shit. And that you should have got my personality from then, you know?
mm,
But yet we don't give our babies a naming ceremony anymore. We give them a name that is to do with our ego. So, for instance, is my not my, but I'm saying if my parents name me, you know, I don't know, John Mason after my father, who was John Mason Sr., that's just ego. Why am I being named the exact same slave name that my father was named
it's
when
not him.
they could have conceptualized a new energy? And even the idea that, you know, something's new, there's nothing new that comes underneath the sun, you know? So
This,
they should have given me my purpose. That's what your name is. And that's what Baba Laila, Dr. Laila Afrika, may you rest in transition,
yes.
said is that your name is supposed to remind you of what you came on the earth to do every time somebody calls it.
That's right. Um,
Right.
I wanna share something with you, Shaka, and then with the
Mm.
fam. That there's two things, and I'm glad you brought this up, and we're gonna segue into an extremely powerful conversation, you know, dealing with the affairs of the heart. You're eating that
Mm-hmm.
watermelon, you know, that's dealing yeah, that's dealing with that energy too. And it's a strawberry moon, so it's lunar out here. So it's only right that we get into that. But one thing that I
Mm-hmm.
want to mothers that are out here, divine mothers, we
Mm-hmm.
at like Shaka was bringing up, there is a lack of powerful names to give the babies the attributes on the internet in the blogs. They've taken it
Mm-hmm.
over with you know, uh, um, there's all of these white names or all of these
Mm-hmm.
anglicized Anglo
Mm-hmm.
Anglo Anglo names like
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, you know, Cooper, and if you have a son named Bryson Cooper, ladies, I'm not saying, you know, but what I am saying is that for the sisters that have been studying and the brothers that have been studying, I feel that it's time to interject some new attributes into these name books because I had a problem. I had a hard time. So my son came on the 2nd of April, right? And then we were like, it was the same thing. We didn't the name was not decided as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it was this and I'm glad that you brought up what you brought up because during that time I was able to go inside and say, you know what? let me study the baby and name him based off of the energy that the baby, because that's the baby's purpose. So I went to
Mm-hmm.
Ra reading for him. He came on April the 2nd. We was trying to get him on 4/4, but on April the 2nd, Orion was out there, and Mars was very powerful. This is an Aries. So I,
Mm-hmm.
and then he has like he looked like a little Buddha. I would
Mm-hmm.
name him Omarion.
Oh, Marion. Ah.
And then my wife was like, I like it. And then something said, no, give it to him. Just say Omari L.
Mm.
So
Ah.
I said, Omari L. You are Orion and Mars together, and you're an L because you're Elohim. So,
Mm.
and then of course he has my father's name, Wayne, and
Mm-hmm.
my mother, his father's name, and then my last name, Moreland. And
Mm.
I found out that Kanye's middle name is Omari, you know,
Mm.
and whatnot, because Kanye is king of the West. Um, but yeah, it's very important that we begin to give them their purpose. Because my son will never say my slave name. He'll never say a slave.
Mm.
You know, he has
Mm-hmm.
his purpose.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that when we were taken to various lands for the purpose of the business of racism, that's what it was, that's what slavery was.
Human
And we
trafficking.
had, right, exactly, and we had all of our names taken away from us. We had our spirituality taken away from us. We had our purposes taken away from us. And then you start to hear stories of Yara Sentua, Nani of the Maroons, Dottie Bookman, Cecile Fatiman. And then you start to think, well, Bossa from Barbados. And then you start to think, well, what do these people all have in common? Um, what do they all have in common? They all practice traditional African spirituality and they were trying to be African. So if you remind your child every single day when you call your child's name that they are African, you don't have to spend all your time. I mean, yeah, you need to teach them their history, but they know because their history is part of their purpose. If their name is an African name, or if it is a cosmological name, not just a Becky, not just something simple, not a Bible name like, Peter, Paul, John, Tom, all of those names. If
Mm-hmm.
it is an African name, in that child, every single time somebody says my name, they're reminded of Africa, whether they like it or not,
That's a fact.
right? So my mother, um, she had me when she was 16 in Barbados. She was pregnant with me while she was 15. And I actually came 6 weeks late. She gave birth to me in a house, not a hospital, and she delivered me into her own hands.
Mm,
And
powerful.
she was on her own as well. My dad was there, but he wasn't there. He went out.
Wow.
And she was 16, delivering me, and she had a prophecy that she would have me on the 25th of December. And lo and behold, I was born 30 minutes past the 25th of December in
Wow.
1987. Um,
That's dope.
and 1987 is Shaka Zulu was born in 1787. I was born in 1987, so 200 years after. And she had, all of these ideas for me when I was conceptualized and when I was born. So then when she started to raise me, she knew what she wanted me to be. She was protesting apartheid at the time. She was teaching me about Marcus Garvey. She was teaching me about Malcolm X. There was some of the first picture books that I ever read was a picture book. I remember it with all the black leaders in it, from Nefertiti to Marcus Garvey to Malcolm X to Kwame Nkrumah. And I'm reading this book now, like going through this book when I'm 9 years old, like reading this picture book and studying it. So a lot of the time, what has happened because of the problems that we have with our own self-education is that People are not learning this shit until they're like past 30. You know, they're
That's
spending all their 20s doing fuck shit. They're in the club, they're doing whatever. And then when the body tells them you need to settle the fuck down, now all of a sudden they start to learn stuff that they are supposed to know when they are a child. You're supposed to know, like Dr. Afrika was saying, you're supposed to know about what you're supposed to eat and how you're supposed to eat by the time that you are 13 as a boy or a girl, so that you can go through what is called a term of period. Well, so you can graduate from a period of academic study, which is health, which is nutrition, which is cosmology, which is maths, which is science. And only then, when you understand these basic things, these were basic in Africa, then you can become a man, you can become a woman. Now, what do we say? We're a man when we can fuck. You're a woman when you get your period. And it's like, but actually you're negating the spirit. You are only looking at you as a seasoned sex slave for the breeding and the property of creating more enslaved children for Europeans. You're only a man when you can fuck. That doesn't make any sense, because animals, they have breeding patterns, they have breeding cycles. They don't have sex outside of those cycles. They have mating cycles, breeding. They don't break them. So that means that, you know, animals are not out here raping each other because they can only come onto heat in a particular time. Yes, you might have lions or whatever that will kill the babies to bring them on, bring the female onto heat, into heat or into estrus. But when she's in it, she wants it. Like, she wants it. And then when she's not in it for the rest of the time, and if she has kids, she doesn't want it. None of this, oh, having sex while you're pregnant, or none of that stuff even makes sense. But that's where we're at, and our level of consciousness is low because we did integration. And integration took away from us our own sovereignty. And I think that we did better when we weren't allowed in their hospitals. We did better when we weren't allowed in their schools. We did better when we weren't allowed in their stores or their restaurants or their bars, because we had to do for self. Now, all of a sudden, people are realizing they got to do for themselves, because the government isn't coming to save them. Muhammad's not coming to save them. Jesus is not coming to save them. And now people are starting to get back to doing for what they're self. And this whole COVID thing, well, look what happened. The black people of the world and the world was removed from distraction. No more concerts, no more parties, no more fuck shit. You had to look at your situation. And now when we see our situation, we are getting to a place where we can improve it. But it's like, how about these people like defund the police, overthrow the government, do all these things? But I'm like, what are you going to do? Were you going to bring in Clinton? She's out here on trial for pedophilia. What are you going to do? Bring in Biden? Who are you going to bring in? Oh, Biden, you're going to bring, he's in the same shit? No, what you need to do is you need to read a book called Blueprint for Black Economic Power by Amos Wilson. And you need to start looking at black nationalism and what Marcus Garvey was doing, who was one of the richest men that ever lived. What Malcolm X was saying about the order of Afro-American unity. See, there we go. You need to start, if you don't look at that stuff, you are going to overthrow the government and have it replaced by martial law. And then the martial law is going to be replaced by authoritarian capitalism. You don't have no better systems to go in. Everybody's out here saying, oh, 5G is bad. I know 5G is bad, but what are we going to replace it with? You keep telling people, you got to take your money out of the banks of the white man. Okay, well, show me the black bank I'm supposed to put it in. Don't just tell people what they're not supposed to do. You have to tell people what they're supposed to do. If you go through a process of unlearning, you have to go through a process of teaching and relearning. So black nationalism includes people who are atheist. It includes people who are Muslim. It includes people who are Hebrew Israelites. It includes capitalists. It includes socialists. And it is about the complete end-to-end economic power of black people first. That's all that black nationalism is. And I don't understand why people keep hoping that the Democrats or the Republicans, they're going to come out with a system of reparations. They ain't about to give nobody shit. We can only do for ourselves.
It's beginning to appear, when I step back and look at the things that are going on, that this is definitely a humongous Hollywood liberal left ploy to put black people back in their good graces. You know what gave it up? When all of these corporations start saying, "Oh, we got $10 million for the blacks. Oh, we're gonna open up a fund for the blacks."
All
Oh,
the fucking time they haven't got no money for us. The whole gay parade and all that thing's going on. They're throwing money at the gay thing and they ain't got no money for us. They've
none,
only got money for us around election time. They did the same shit with Mike Brown.
huh? Yeah. So I'm like, y'all sorry about what? And how sorry are y'all? You know? Now, I'm not gonna negate some of the things that are happening spiritually and magically right now in this day.
Mm-hmm.
This is definitely the Jubilee. Um, but this is not about anybody but us at this.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't realize that we have to withdraw completely, the same way that
Mm-hmm.
we withdrew in the last 2 months, we were not in white people's face. We were not really worried about them. We began to worry about them when Fauci and them popped up on TV, and then it became the Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci show on social media, on Fox 5, on CNN, where they were inundating us with all of this COVID
Look at
program.
this. I got a friend of mine who's a technology scientist. She sent
Yes.
me this. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is Black Lives Matter searches on Google.
Yeah.
Summer 2016, Black Lives Matter spikes. 2016, November, December, election. Summer 2020, Black Lives Matter spikes. And what do you think's coming next? The fucking
Fact.
election. It's not an accident. They don't care about you the rest of the time.
If they did, we would have a Black Lives Matter living black man's picture on their website.
I haven't even been on there. What's on there?
I don't know. I read that there's a picture of black men who are dead, and then
Wow.
there's a statement on there that says that we're not here for the black family. We're not here to because they're giving Black Lives Matter all of
So
the
so they are
no,
they basically just saying Black Deaths Matter?
Black Deaths Matter, right?
Mm,
I got into this last night where I talked about what the underlying symbology of Black Lives Matter is.
mm-hmm,
Black lives and the matter that contains black life,
mm-hmm.
it only comes from a black phallus,
So
right?
black penises matter.
Black phallus gives out black life, and black matter is black sperm, not white
Mm-hmm.
sperm, because white lives, remember they say white life matters, and white woman is like, no, it don't.
Crazy.
It's white men saying white lives matter, and white woman is like, no, it ain't, because white women is like, I'm not recreating a white life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for the black life. Black lives matter. The matter is the sperm. That's the life, because the black woman births life. They of course they give life. They bring life, but the giver of life. Remember, you're the
Mm-hmm.
giver. We give life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alice. Yes, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, one of the greatest master teachers that I've ever embarked upon. I met her before she made her transition. I have the opportunity to interview her on our podcast. Go and look up KTL Radio and Dr. Frances Cress Wilson on Google for the family out there. You'll enjoy a very heartwarm 2-hour conversation between a master teacher and master students, me and my brother Blue. But yeah, there's an energy going on right now when these quote unquote marches and these rituals start to take place. You know, the energy about Black life, because it's a necromancy movement. It's not about, remember, think about when Obama was running. Think about the
Mm.
7 wave that Obama created when he was running for office. Run, Obama, run. Think about the money that was generated. Thinking about the electricity that he created. He was a living being who was coming out, charging up the people, going state to state. Niggas, is he coming to New York? Oh, we putting on our Sunday's best and going to see him. He's
And
a
the only thing that he gave was hope.
fool.
Hope.
I'm
All that power, and he just had hope.
I'm of the conspiracy that when
Mm.
he denounced Farrakhan and Reverend Wright, that's when they got him. I'm talking about immediately after. He might have went in a room and whoever came out wasn't Barack. But when he,
Mm.
remember, Donald Trump and none of your enemies will denounce their power. They won't denounce, they won't denounce their auric field. They won't denounce who protects them. They'll never denounce their preachers, even the ones who get caught molesting children. You've never heard, like Drew Brees, for instance, the guy from the St. Louis, what does he play on? The Saints come marching in, the New Orleans Saints. He has something to say about Black lives and the American flag. He didn't say anything about the archdiocese and the scandal between the New Orleans Saints and the fact that they were covering up pedophilia all up and down all up and down New Orleans, all up and down the churches. But the owner of the New Orleans Pelicans, the same team that got Zion, and the New Orleans Saints, the owner is a devout Christian, and she is a lady. She helped because there's emails that showed that she was covering up pedophilia and molestation. So when Drew Brees wants to stick his goddamn his mayonnaise smelling nose in Black business, tell him he has a nut. He got to deal with. He needs to be dealing with his backyard. He needs to be dealing with his archdiocese. He needs to be dealing with his cardinal sins that the Saints, let the Saints go marching in and find out where they hiding them damn babies at. That's what Drew Brees and his goddamn football throwing ass needs to do, and stay out of our business, bro. Because you already suspect, because none of the Saints players had anything to say about that scandal, and that's a new scandal.
Mm. Well, is one thing is like every single time, and this is another thing that Malcolm X said. I keep referring to him, but everything that he said is happening, right? And he was saying it 40, 50 years ago, and everything that he said is happening now.
He's a
And
prophet.
if you just look and you just listen again to the Ballot or the Bullet 1964 speech,
Oof.
if you listen to his speech, everything in that speech is relevant right now today. And what you were saying before about the black fellas. So the thing that white supremacy fears the most is actually a whole and complete black woman and black man together. The Holy Trinity: black man, black woman, black child. That's what they fear the most.
That's new.
And right, exactly. And if you look at, this symbology, the phallus, the obelisk, you see this right by the White House, right? You also see one in London. You also see one in France. Why do you see
And
this
the
and the
Vatican.
Vatican? Right. Why do you see this symbol in all of these places? And a lot of people don't realize that actually, when they're teaching you the story of
I saw.
Asar, yeah, they're teaching you the story of Asar, but when they're teaching you the story of Jesus over and over and over again, within that story is the story of Abraham and the sacrifice of Isaac. And during that time, this is when the circumcision started being practiced as a ritual en masse, because what they were actually doing is circumcising your child is the ritualistic sacrifice of cutting off of the penis. right? The story of Osar, Oset, Heru, Set, that was the story of Immaculate Conception. That was the first story of Immaculate Conception that we know of in human civilization, right? And so she put all of Osiris's body parts back together, and the only thing that she couldn't find was the penis. And then she found it, and then she sat on him, and then she gave birth to Heru, right? And so what you have now is you have this circumcision happening again and again and again, because God said to Abraham, sacrifice your son, and if you sacrifice your son, then you will be in God's favor, so on and so forth. Abraham said, yeah, right, cool, I'll sacrifice my son. And then God said, well, you were going to do it, but I'm not going to make you do it because you've shown your true dedication to God. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make you sacrifice his head, the phallus, so the symbology of cutting off of the penis head. And you see the Jews, the sick Jews in New York who are giving the babies herpes because they're cutting off their foreskins and then putting their mouth on, sucking the blood and all of that crazy shit because they're demons. Not all Jews are demons, but these ones in particular are demons, and that's why they're getting all these babies having herpes. And then that's when it split, and you had Isaac's sons, Anglo-Saxons. The Saxons came from the sons of Isaac, which was where you get this idea of having to do every single. So one went off into Europe and one went off into the Middle East, and this is where you get the Muslims, and this is where you get the Christians from. And now you have this idea that in order for a man to be a whole man, he has got to have his phallus on display everywhere. So you've got this bombs, bullets, guns, all shaped like a penis. You got this penis now fucking the world because they can't properly ground into their root chakra, which is what the phallus symbolizes. It symbolizes the root chakra. And what happens when you aren't grounded? You're angry, you're frustrated, you destroy shit. So men are fucking the world up trying to ground into their root chakra. They can't because they've been ritualistically sacrificed when they were children. You have in Washington the head, which is the White House, and then you have the phallus. So now you have the crown chakra and you have the root chakra, and you have a complete separation from both. There's not all the 5 other chakras in between that. You just have
the oval.
The oval, right? Exactly. So you have all of this symbology. People don't realize that it's really actually just them trying to imitate what was going on in Kemet, and they're doing it wrong. They don't know what they're doing. So they practice all of these sacrifices, which are very powerful, by the way. That's why they always do shit on within the particular moments within the lunar cycle. They always do the Shekinah. This is what a lot of people don't realize. The Shekinah, when George Bush landed on the aircraft carrier and said, we carried out the shock and awe, they don't realize that he carried out the Shekinah. Like, people aren't realizing what's really going on.
Or Shekinah on 2003 on the spring. Didn't they go to war on the spring equinox?
Yeah, exactly. They're doing it. They're doing all of these practices because they're trying to recreate symbology, which is not of their culture. That's the most important thing. That is not of their culture. So they're not doing it wrong. Why is the world in problem? And this is why a lot of people don't like me. And a lot of the family do, but a lot of people don't like me as well. Is because I'll speak for what it is. Like, I've been spending time with elephants recently, and you have all these fucking TV shows talking about, all these white saviors. Oh, we just need to save the elephants because the poachers, and it's the Chinese. And it's like, motherfucker, in 1850, there was 26 million elephants. There used to be herds in Africa of elephants, 10,000 strong.
Yeah.
Brother, do you know how big an elephant is? An elephant is huge,
Yeah.
but they eat grass. So they can get together in herds of 10,000. Lions couldn't do that, right? These are the
10,000?
10,000 strong in Africa. This is, when you think about it, there was 26 million of them, right? By 1979, so 1850, what happened after 1885? The Conference of Berlin whatever it's called. Right, exactly.
Berlin.
Colonization, the destruction of Africa, etc., etc. From 1850 until 1979, they reduced the population of elephants by over 95%. By 1979, there was only 1.3 million elephants left.
They did the same thing with the bisons over here.
Right. So there was
Those are our
but the,
systems. Go ahead.
right, but they did it worse with the bison because the bison had 300 million bison. Now there's about 30,000 bison left. So they killed 99.99% of the bison, right? All of that. But if Africans ate elephants, which they didn't, because Africans, generally speaking, weren't meat eaters, if Africans ate elephants, they would have wiped out the elephants to get the continent of Africa. They didn't care what they were doing. So now we've seen in mine and your lifetime, 4 species of tiger go extinct. We've seen all from Europeans deciding to destroy animals just for the sake of it, and so they can hang it on their wall and shit. We've seen 4 species of tiger go extinct. We've seen 3 species of rhino go extinct. In a couple of years ago, the black rhino went extinct. Now there's only 1 northern white rhino left. That's a male. There's 2 females. They're trying to breed them, but they're about to go extinct. Elephants have about 8 years left. There's 100 elephants killed every single day. There's about 200,000 elephants left right now. There's 100 killed every day.
It's for the tusk, the ivory, or just
for the ivory in China. But then it's for, this is the other thing. Why is it illegal to shoot elephants for poachers so that the Africans can, people from Ghana, not Ghana, it's more the East, people from Zambia, people from Mozambique, people from Kenya, etc., can make some money because that's what they're selling it for. It's for money. You have Europeans who are paying $10,000, $5,000 to shoot an elephant so that they can say that they did it, and they say that the money from that goes into conservation. It's like, well, elephants can't even breed until they're like 14, 15 years old. So you're killing them before they can even have babies. You're saying it's about conservation. If you really care about conservation, you're not going to pay to shoot something, you know? So, but I explicitly say that the problem, Ganesha.
Yeah. So that elephant that you're speaking of is like I'm resonating with that. Look, the live is ticking down. You want to go back in?
Yeah.
Right.
Finish it and I'll come back here.
All right, we're gonna finish this live and we're gonna touch on the next one. So everybody follow. Let's get back on the next live. All right, family. Peace.